Hi, welcome to Tiny Garage Fabrication. My name is Matt, and on today's episode, I'm going to be introducing a new project truck. This is a 1972 Chevy C10. I'm going to turn this into a shop truck for my channel, and also for doing shop truck stuff. So this was a truck in my neighborhood, and for the past 5 or 6 years, about once or twice a year, whenever I saw the owner, I'd bug him, be like, hey man, you going to sell me that truck? And I always got the typical answer of, no, I'm going to hang on to this thing forever, or going to fix it someday. Anyway, long story short, a few months ago, a guy knocked on my door and said, hey, you approached me about this. I always said no, but the time has come and I think I'm going to get rid of it. So I went over, took a look at it, made him an offer, made me a counter offer. We shook hands. I took the truck home. Let's get into a quick montage. I can show you the truck as is, and then we'll start to undress and assess. I think step number one is going to take all of this and chuck it. Not chuck it, but remove it. You know, there's years and years of crud everywhere. It's just disgusting. There is a very, very thick coating of oily dirt down here on everything. So, a little bit of rust up in the corners there. Yeah, just kind of remove all this stuff, get it down to a base, probably do some cleaning in the engine bay, and get a satin black paint on all of it, and get it prepped to drop an engine and transmission in. Now the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the wiring harness. I was pretty lucky. This thing came with a fairly new American Auto Wire full C10 harness. I'll just get that out of the way and start removing parts one at a time. Kind of work from the top down, I suppose. Now, having had a 69 Suburban in the past, I kind of already knew where all the attachment points were for the fenders, the inner fenders, the core support, and all of that stuff. So I was able to get this job done without too much drama. Now, popping these front fenders off, I was very surprised with the condition on the inside. There's practically no rust. The bottoms, the supports, everything's in great shape, and the paint on the backside is by far the shiniest part of this entire truck. So with the fender off, we can get to the inner fender. There's only a couple of bolts that hold it on. And I was also pleased to see that these are newer replacement fenders from LMC truck. So once again, more new parts, not rusted out, really great shape. I'm pretty pleased with this project truck so far at this point. Now we just kind of rinse and repeat on the passenger side, remove the fender, and then the inner fender. Same condition as the driver's side, very rust free, very clean. Very pleased with how those parts are. Now the core support, there's two major bolts that hold it to the frame, and on the battery side there was a lot of corrosion. Looks like we had a leaky battery in the past. Just look at it. So I fought a bit trying to get that nut and bolt out, but it's gone now, so we can remove the core support. pull off the battery tray, pull out the AC dryer, which will be replaced anyway, and then remove the AC condenser because it's got to be blown out and cleared. Now I've got a bare core support that I can clean and repaint. Let's take a look at what we got so far. Got a really cool wasp nest. Luckily it's vacated. Pretty crusty down here. Cows are, well, she gone. All right, that kind of sucks. And rust here. And I've got to clean all of this up. Now I'm going to put air conditioning back on this. However, a lot of this stuff looks extremely outdated. Like the dual sensor expansion valve, which goes into this thing, which feeds back into something else. That's probably going to get taken out. Use just a regular R134 expansion valve. It's got some sort of a vacuum modulator here. Looks like that's for the temp control. And then a petcock. There's another vacuum diaphragm thing here that, given how it's wired up, looks like it might be broken. I've got a doodly-doo, I don't know what that is, and some more schmutzy things. Anyway, I'm going to simplify this, update it to newer standards, but I'm still going to use this box and evaporator. I will probably end up making new lines because I'm going to run with an R4 scroll type compressor, and that's because I have the accessory brackets for it. I'm going to be putting a serpentine belt system on this from a newer, let's say I took it off of a 95 Suburban. So much updated on the accessory drives. I'm going to use the air conditioner that fits that bracket. So I'm going to, let's see what else we got here. We got some junk. And this side of the cab looks a lot better. The cowl is mostly there. I'm not too worried about the other side because, I mean, these have drain holes in them anyway. So, being out this is going to be kind of a shop slash rat truck, I'm going to leave the messed up cowl on the other side. I'll treat it, but I'm not going to fix it. Alright, I'm going to work my way through this. Pulling the entire HVAC system out is pretty easy at this point. Definitely a lot easier with the fender and inner fender out of the way. I can tell you that now, with knowledge from the future, as I edit this, it's definitely easier with that stuff out of the way. Now we move on to the brake master cylinder and brake booster assembly. Pretty straightforward taking all this stuff apart. With any luck, yours won't have a lot of brake fluid in it. Like mine didn't have too much, otherwise that stuff just leaks everywhere all the time and it's impossible to catch it all because it runs down the lines and goes where it wants to go. Now, pulling the pin that attaches the brake pedal to the booster was by far the hardest part of this project. There's just not a lot of space to do it and it's kind of finicky, but we got it, as you can see. A little bit of cleaning going on here. I pulled all the leaves and everything out of the cowl and just trying to get some of the rest of the junk off so that I can assess how bad the rust is in the seam between the cowl and the firewall. We'll show that in the next video or two. It's not pretty. So I built these tire cribs, you know, nothing super out of the ordinary, but I countersunk holes in them so that I can put them on wheel dollies, and now I've got rolling tire cribs. So all these are tire cribs. They also work great as just general jack stands. Put them under the frame, and now I can still move the truck around side to side up front and let it roll on the rear wheels. So that's going to help me out a lot in tearing this thing down and moving it around so that I can get to all the suspension components and kind of roll it outside to clean it and paint it. And speaking of cleaning, ooh, Ooh, this thing is disgusting. It needs a ton of cleaning, and I'm about to spend more time than I want to admit on that. But don't worry, I'm not catching it all on video. You're not gonna have to spend 3 weeks watching me clean this thing. Or will you? Alright, well, here's the right side after about 15 minutes of going at it with, a screwdriver and a scraper. Still a lot of work to do, but that should be clean enough that I can at least locate all the bolts so that I can take all this off. And this is the pile I was left with. And look how thick some of that junk was. Pretty crazy. So I realized I didn't really go over what I'm going to be doing with this project. I mentioned a shop truck, that's cool, whatever. But let's kind of break down where this thing's going to head. Suspension's getting torn apart. It's going to go back pretty much the way it is. I may or may not get dropped spindles for it. For now, I'm going to put in some drop springs and shock relocators. In the rear, I'm going to do some 2-inch drop blocks. All this is going to get cleaned up. Underneath the engine compartment is going to look super clean, super good. I'm dropping a 355 that I have built, and I'm going to put a 5-speed transmission in it, an NV 3500. It's kind of a heavy-duty truck transmission. It's got a granny low, which should work well, because like I said, this is a shop truck, and I want to use it to tow trailers and bring home new project cars and stuff like that. Interior-wise, I think I'm just going to pretty much leave it as is. It'll probably get a stereo. The gas tank behind the seat is going away. I've got a tank to go in the frame rails under the bed. The engine will get fuel injection, which is why I'm doing the underbed gas tank. It'll be on 20-inch wheels, and I've got those wheels picked out. I think they're going to look awesome. And I will probably do like my YouTube logo. I guess I'll have to draw a logo. I don't really have one, but I'm going to do a logo for my channel on the doors. Very shop truck style. But as far as paint and body, it's really not getting anything. I'm going to fix some of the rust that may enter into the, let wind and water into the cab. But other than that, I'm just going to run it as is. So she'll just be lowered and got a good engine, a good trans, decent stereo, good wheels. So I think it'll be pretty neat. Kind of a low buck type thing. Hopefully I can get it completely finished for under 7 grand, all said and done, including the price of the truck. And I'll break all that down at the end once it's done. All right, well, that does it for today. I've got about 4 hours, give or take, of doing this by myself. As you can see, I got all the front sheet metal removed. Tomorrow I'm going to get back to it, get everything cleaned up a bit more, taken apart, hopefully get all the small suspension pieces that unbolt, get those in the parts washer, and then start cleaning up the frame with some degreaser and some brushes so that I can get it painted, and then also prep the firewall to get some paint on that, as well as some of the rust repaired. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you like this content. Make sure to subscribe, ring the bell for new updates. And that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody.